this big conference, right? I'm Jun Kim, a philosopher and author of several books, and especially I translated Deleuzo-Guattari, Antiochus, and Thousand Plato into Korean, and Deleuze's Deleuzo-ism also. It's very honor to introduce you, the audiences, today. And this speaker of second keynote speech, Jun Fujita Hirose. He was born in Tokyo, and now he is a professor of French civilization at Ryukyu University in Kyoto. He published many books, including Japanese kitchen philosophy, and microcircuit in struggle, assemblies in struggle, and then recently he published 2 books, maybe Spanish.
Yes, it's Spanish.
Cine Capital, como las
Imágenes.
imágenes vienen revolucionarias. I don't speak Spanish, but
Muy bien.
yes. The next book is Cómo impone un límite absoluto al capitalismo. Okay. Filosofía política de Deleuzo-Guattari. Yeah. He specialized Foucault and Deleuzo-Guattari, and published a book on Deleuzo-Guattari. The title of his keynote speech is, as you know, on the template, the Deleuzo-Guattarian Century has come. Yes, Deleuzo-Guattarian Century has come already. Do you agree? Now let's think about the meaning of the expression of Deleuzo-Guattarian Century. Yes.
Yes. No, I
Begin
just.
the speech.
Yes.
His speech takes 30 or 35 minutes, and then we will have long Q&A session.
But we don't have any.
Yes, we can.
Always here at 5 p.m.
5 p.m.
Yes.
What time?
No problem.
Yes, as you like.
Okay, bon. 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 감사합니다 for coming to listening to me. It's gonna be very short and in the telegram manner. In 1970, Michel Foucault wrote a review of Deleuze's Difference and Repetition and the Logic of Sense, both published in the previous year. At the opening of this text, Foucault states, "For a long time to come, I believe those works will be circling above our heads. But one day, perhaps, the century will be Deleuzian. Longtemps, je crois que cette œuvre trônera au-dessus de nos têtes, mais un jour, peut-être, le siècle est Deleuzien." 50 years after Foucault's declaration, we can confirm today that his insight is right. Deleuzian thought is no longer something circling overhead, but is now thoroughly embodied in people's political life. The Deleuzian century has come, or rather, the Deleuzo-Guattarian century has come. But what is Deleuzo-Guattarian century? The 20th century was the century of revolution. Under the impact of Russian Revolution, a series of national liberation struggles against the colonial imperialist powers took place. And it's alongside those revolutions that Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari developed their political philosophy, which consisted of inviting people in struggle to make one more effort. What extra effort in question? Deleuze and Guattari called it molecular revolution or revolutionary becoming, devenir révolutionnaire. It's the it's the very idea of molecular revolution or revolutionary becoming that has been circling overhead for a long time. In concrete terms, how was that idea of molecular revolution treated when it was actually brought into revolutionary struggles in the last century? Let's take the example of Nestor Pelongel. Voy a escribir su nombre. Nestor. So let's take the example of this Nestor Pelongel, leader of the first Argentinian gay and lesbian political organization, Frente de Liberación Homosexual. The Frente de Liberación Homosexual, Homosexual Liberation Front, was founded in Buenos Aires in 1971, and it was very active throughout the nationwide popular struggle against the military dictatorship and the subsequent United States-backed state terrorism in the first half of the 70s in Argentina. As far as I know, that's why I wrote his name here. Nestor Pelongel is the very first person to read Deleuze and Guattari's work in the context of a concrete revolutionary process. Inspired by the just published Anti-Oedipus, at the same time as by various theoretical thoughts of sexual politics and feminism, Pelongel invented slogans like el machismo, el fascismo de entre casa, machismo is fascism within the home, or amare vivir libremente en un país liberado, to love and live freely in a liberated country. With those slogans, Berlinguer and his gay and lesbian comrades appealed to Argentina struggle, fighting for social liberation, to make one more effort. But their appeal was totally rejected. When the homosexual liberation front attempted to join into the Peronist left, for example, the militant of the latter gave their categorical refusal by saying, "We are not fags." The Homosexual Liberation Front and its call for molecular revolution or libidinous revolution were condemned to stay beside the revolutionary process and never integrated within, in the same way as Deleuze and Guattari's political philosophy remained beside the century of revolutions. But today, let's say since the mid-2010s, we are witnessing a flowering of popular revolutionary movements internally and immediately driven to make one more effort, particularly in the global south. The indigenous and Afro-descendant communities in Latin American countries are fighting for defending their territories against neo-extractivism and internal colonialism. And they are doing so a common slogan which says, this is very difficult to pronounce it. There is no decolonialization without, this is the most difficult part to pronounce, depatriarchalization. Is it correct or not? Yes? You understand? Okay. No se puede descolonizar sin despatriarcalizar. As for the Kurdish people, they adopted a new slogan in the mid-2010s, mid-2000, for the national liberation struggle, Jinja Azadi, woman, life, freedom, for the national liberation struggle. And it's by embracing this very slogan of Kurdish minority that the Iranian people are launching the revolutionary process of 1979, which was being brutally interrupted and repressively suspended for 40 years by the Islamic State, Islamic regime. In 2019, the Chilean people also began reviving their revolutionary process, which had been interrupted and suspended for 50 years by the US-backed civic military dictatorship and under the subsequent so-called democratic transition. The Chilean people formed their constituent assembly and elected a Mapuche woman to its chair, Elisa Loncon. The Palestinian struggle against the Israeli colonialism can also no longer afford to sideline the women, Palestinian women, who are calling for molecular revolution by asserting there is no free homeland without free women. In general terms, what we are witnessing today is the kind of resumption of the last century's revolution, but in a new form. Each minority group in struggle now incorporates in itself sub-minority groups, and is led by them by sub-minority groups from the inside to deterritorialize itself into the process of becoming minoritarian instead of re-territorializing itself on a state of majority. The sub-minority group, that is the minority within minority, can be any kind of dominated and exploited masses. But as all the contemporary struggles mentioned above demonstrate, women show now their veritable transversality all over the world. Even in the United States, it's by women that the Black Lives Matter movement was founded. The Argentinian feminist thinker Veronica Gago says that feminism is today like a virus. Feminism permeates all the revolutionary popular struggles over a century and pushes each one from within to make one more effort. In 1,000 Plateaus, Deleuze and Guattari asserted that all becomings begin with and pass through becoming woman. Tous les devenirs commencent et passent par le devenir femme. Feminism now turned into a social virus leads people in struggle to become women and thereby to enter a general process of becoming minoritarian or molecular revolution. Perhaps we can say that it's the viralization, okay? Viralization of feminism that opened the Deleuzo-Guattarian century. in which the French philosopher's world has become flesh, incarnated in the minority within minority, as the active agent of becoming minoritarian for each minority group in struggle. What is politically at stake in the Deleuzo-Guattarian century, which means our century, is therefore the minority within minority. From this point of view, the recent attack of the Tunisian President Kais Saied on the sub-Saharan immigrants in Tunisia seems to be a typical or paradigmatic state reaction to the Deleuzo-Guattarian century. I don't write his name here. Kais Saied, through his populist rhetoric and arrest campaign, Kais Saied provokes the Arabic and Berber population to have a hatred for the sub-Saharan immigrants and to declare war against them. And by doing so, he tries to preventively cancel the possible integration of the sub-Saharan immigrants into the still ongoing Tunisian revolution launched in December 2010. The Tunisian state attacks on the potentially most subversive element existing in its territory. Generally speaking, capitalistic states have been always organizing war. And it's because the wars are indispensable for the continuous accumulation of capital. Industrial capital incessantly comes up against the barriers immanent to itself, which are the constant fall of the rate of profit, and it overcomes those barriers each time by increasing the mass of profit in absolute terms. But how does industrial capital increase the mass of profit? It's by wars of every kind, which generate each time new dominated and exploited masses. And it is a state that assumes the organization of wars because capital itself, as Marx says, is nothing but its own barrier. If the last century's revolutions, including the most successful ones like that of mainland China, couldn't finish off capitalism, it's because they established the state. It's the state that multiplies hierarchical binary divisions of people through both international and international wars in order to let capital always overcome its immanent barriers. And that's the very lesson that all the contemporary revolutionary popular struggles have received from the century of revolutions. Molecular revolutions fight the state. It dislocates the state. And by dislocating the state, molecular revolution pulls down capitalism. In 1961, Gilles Deleuze published a text entitled From Zachamazoch to Masochism. De Zachamazoch or masochisme. In that text, Deleuze argued what Zachamazoch might have dreamed of alongside the revolutions of 1848 and Pan-Slavism. Slavism. And Deleuze wrote, it's very interesting. Mazoch dreams of using patriarchy itself to restore gynecocracy, and gynecocracy to restore primitive communism. Okay. Mazoch rêve se servir du patriarcat lui-même pour restaurer la gynécocratie et de la gynécocratie pour restaurer le communisme primitif. Did the Chilean people try to follow a very similar path when they formed a constituent assembly and elected a Mapuche woman to its chair? The Chilean revolutionary popular struggle of 2019 used the state to set up a minority-led political process and attempted to use the minority-led political process to dislocate the state itself by leading the entire Chilean population to become minoritarian. The Chilean struggle itself was interrupted before being fully developed, defeated in this, by COVID, they say. Yet, it does offer a glimpse of what could be the common strategy of revolutionary popular struggles in the Deleuzo-Guattarian century, the perversive use of the state. People in struggle use the state in such a way that the state turns against itself and rushes towards its own explosion. Thank you.
Yes, his conclusion is thank you. And now we have Q&A time. Is there anyone asking point? Yes, Alex.
Thank you for very insightful and intriguing talk about the Deleuze century, the focus setting of this country. Yeah, actually, a little bit. Actually, I agree with when you actually, if you do this, would be here. I think could actually kind of respond to this title. What is the political role of gender in the age of authoritarianism? Definitely, you would give some kind of another idea of how it can be understood. That is the movement of the homosexual movement. Actually, in traditional sense, leftist movement is this kind of some gender politics regarded as sort of minor field. But you actually literally try to switch, this minor field as kind of a different, actually, the aspect of politics. And quite, happy to talk about this kind of topic. But actually, my actual question is that, all right, we live in the nation state, right? Actually, I agree with that. The gender is kind of as a platform of sort of we use the kind of patriarchal nation state system. But sometimes this actually force that is actually this kind of a mess or a hope, where some are becoming revolutionary, always captured by this kind of nation state. Even though actually they try to escape from or decentralizing from this kind of nation state country, always actually this sort of nation state follow this kind of some decentralized approach. Rather than actually always they're making some excuse, the economic crisis or some loss of disaster. So actually we must rearrange this kind of field according to this so different context or some different experience. Right? So, okay, just my idea is that if we still insist that this reference theory of politics is a value in this age, in my opinion, is we should actually focus on their own, ideal revolution. That's why I love what you said about the revolution. And then, as far as I understand, what Deleuze argues that the revolution is necessary. But some people actually said, not so even leftists, the activists, theorists argue, the revolution is empty, and then we must think about something post-revolutionary. So, that's my question. How could you actually persuade those people? Even though actually a lot of some sort of leftist perspective, which regard feminist movement as part of the kind of mainstream movement, is a class struggle or something. But I don't think actually class struggle is the final definition to explain this. So that's why we need to use the theory in politics. And how can we actually rearrange this relationship between class struggle and the feminist movement, or some kind of gender politics, or from the perspective of the
Okay, I'm not good at answering to any questions, but I gotta tell you a little bit my idea. Yes, it's very interesting and important to have concept like intersectionality. But what I did today is kind of verticalize the relationship which is represented horizontalement, in the concept of intersectionality. I means yes, I'm double, triple, minority, etc. Yes, but this is the idea of this minority and this minority and this minority. I belong to this, and this, and yeah. But I'm interested in my vertical way. Because, for example, in the case of Kurdish people, the Kurdish people itself is a minority, but within this minority, there are women. No, Kurdish women is not Kurdish and women. No, it's minority within minority. But what does it mean, for example, a Kurdish women in the Iran who was killed? Which means veritable minority within minority in the inland nation. No? I think this verticality is very important to think about how can get to become minoritarian. What is the agent? What is the existing agent in the each movement, each revolutionary movement? This is the first. So what I'm going to say is that my thing is something to have some kind of relationship with intersectionality, but I'm proposing you to think differently the same situation. It's gonna be very useful I think it's gonna be very useful to think what is the Deleuzo-Guattarian century. This is the first point. And recuperation of the becoming revolutionary in a state nation, no? In nation state? Nation state. Yeah, yes, it's already like that. But when a nation state recuperate a minority, a certain minority, or a certain number of minorities within the nation, it's always by making other minorities outside of this nation. This is the case in the Palestinian case, I think. Yes, Israeli state respect women's rights. We are very friendly to LGBTP cause like that. But okay. But by making other minorities outside of their nation. This is the very, I think, basic mechanism of capitalism. Because I think I already heard this discussion in this conference today. No, it's autoimmunity of democracy or something like that. You have to have democracy does have to have the trash can outside the democracy to put every problem in we can't this I think I understand what I so go to the third persuade the necessity of revolution. No, I don't want to persuade nobody to do the revolution. But yes, the necessity of revolution is very, yes, for example, this is the very problem which was at stake, for example, in the previous session on the dichotomy between logic of equivalent and logic of particular. Logic of equivalent is a strategy. It's very important to have. So this is the logic of equivalent. Never is objective. It's a strategy. Hegemony is in the order of strategy to realize kind of word of logic of logic of what? Difference. Logic of difference. And so So I think, for example, in the case of Laclau, Ernest Laclau and Chantal Mouffe, they proposed the idea of strategy. And it's necessary. It's necessary. And so that's why I'm very interested in this perverse use of the state. Yes, it's very difficult because we forget. We forget always when we no. It's that this is the main problem in the 20th century. But when Syrian or Iranian or other people began reviving the same revolutions in now they know what was the problem in the 20th century. So they know that the revolution is very important, but we have to do it in a new form. This is the revival of the 20th century's revolutions now, not just pure repetition. And because of the existence of viralized feminism, transversal. And also, the feminism is, I don't put the importance on the transversality of feminism, but feminism exists not only in the minority revolutionary struggles, but also in the struggle in the privileged country like here in Korea. But here in Korea also the women is very, very important. It was a women-led revolutionary popular struggle that pulled down the Park Geun-hye government. It's true. So Park Geun-hye is also the women. But Korea, there's no man anymore. So I think this is my comment on your comment.
Too much talk of now.